From Tech TV, welcome to Panorama. I'm your hostess, Ghada Hamadani. Determined, tireless, enthusiastic. Wherever he goes, he always has a pretty strong agenda. He's the former leader of the official opposition of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. A newlywed lawyer, he's the 51st mayor-elect of Brampton. He is Patrick Brown. Welcome, Patrick. Patrick, congratulations on both marriage and the winning. You were persistent in face of obstacles. So what this winning means to you?
Well, it's an opportunity to serve the people of Brampton, and it's a significant responsibility. Brampton's been hurting for a number of years with crime, with high taxes, endless red tape, congestion, and I take this responsibility very seriously. This trust that voters have placed to me, I want to make sure we get Brampton back on track, and I take this responsibility very seriously.
Okay, is there big ticket items on your list for Brampton?
The biggest items right now are jobs, jobs, jobs. I want to bring investment to Brampton. I want to make sure that a young person can grow up in Brampton and have a job. I want to make sure people aren't leaving Brampton every day. The 410's a parking lot of people leaving to go to work elsewhere. I want to have jobs in Brampton. I'd also say that public safety is a huge issue. The escalating crime has been very worrisome, and I can tell you last week, the first day that I was elected, the very first day I had a conversation with the chief of police to talk about public safety, and I met with our economic development staff to talk about how we were going to be much more robust and aggressive on economic development.
Okay, is there any plans for the economic development?
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we're working on every day, about bringing jobs and businesses to Brampton. That is our largest focus.
So how are you going to bring business to Brampton?
So a number of things. One, we want to have competitive taxes. Right now, Brampton's taxes are higher than adjacent municipalities, and we want to make sure that taxes are competitive. We're going to cut the regulatory burden and make sure that the red tape, the slow pace at which Brampton City Hall works is addressed. We're going to cut that red tape, but I'd also say we're going to start making pitches. You know, where Hazel McCallion was very successful from Mississauga, she would get out there and make a pitch to a business. So right now, every day, we're making pitches to businesses to come to Brampton, to locate in Brampton. I want to create an environment where businesses can grow again, invest again, hire again in the city of Brampton.
Okay, so what's your priority for the city, beside the business?
So number one priority is obviously jobs, 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 investment. We also have to have a safe community. Safety is very important to me. The fact that we've had lockdowns already, the fact that last year was a record year for shootings, this year is even higher. Obviously, that's another very large focus, making sure we have zero tolerance on crime. Okay,
Patrick, let's talk about some of the challenges you're going to come up against. So you have the 28 million lawsuit against the city, and you have the LTR actually, and you have other issues. So how are you going to tackle
So the lawsuit from the previous leadership of the city, that's before the courts, and that should be resolved in the very near future. Obviously, there was questions about the past political leadership in Brampton and the tendering process, and that is before the courts, and I'm hopeful that that unfortunate period in Brampton's history is now past us, and we can move on, and frankly, I'm going to make sure, as mayor of Brampton, that the tendering process is as transparent as you can ever imagine, and that everyone knows about the opportunities to compete for tenders in the city of Brampton. In terms of the LRT, obviously, Brampton's not getting its fair share on transit dollars, and I plan to campaign to both the province and the federal government that we need our fair share on transit dollars. Brampton is not second class. Brampton doesn't deserve to get second class transit dollars, and both the province and the federal government are not at the table in Brampton on a per capita basis. If you look what they've done in Vaughan and Scarborough and Hamilton and London and Mississauga and Ottawa compared to what they're doing in Brampton, it's a slap in the face to the city of Brampton. We deserve our fair share on transit. I appreciate that just recently the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, reached out to say that they want to address this shortfall. You know, time will tell whether he is sincere in that commitment, but give him credit. He did reach out to say that they understand they have to do more, and I hope the province will do the same. I hope the province will come to the table. Brampton deserves the same per capita funding that other municipalities get on transit, and right now we are being massively, massively shortchanged. And the reason I think that's fundamentally wrong is we pay all the same provincial and federal taxes as everywhere else. Exactly. Why is it that if you live in Brampton, you get less transit dollars from the federal government and the provincial government than someone in Mississauga or someone in Vaughan or Scarborough? It just doesn't wash for me.
So are you satisfied with the plan, it's like what they have for the transit right now, or are you going to do some changes? You're going to have some recommendation from your team? The current one, the LRT, is here in Ontario. We already have the transit running there, and actually it's just taking people from north to south.
I'm not a fan of inadequate transit. I'm not a fan of a cheaper version of what should be a generational change in transit. You can't solve traffic by putting streetcars on the same road of cars, especially in some cases when it's a single lane. If we're going to get this right, it needs to be elevated above ground or tunneled, more like what we see in Scarborough and Vaughan. What Brampton has been dealing with so far is, what do you do when you're offered peanuts? They're trying to make the best of what they've been offered, but what they've been offered isn't good enough. I want to make sure that we get the same per capita funding as other municipalities, in which case we could do something very special in Brampton when it comes to transit.
Okay, are you with opening cannabis outlets in Brampton?
So I'm not a fan of the use of marijuana. Ultimately, the federal Liberal government made a decision to legalize marijuana. They won a majority government, and that was part of their mandate. And we can't turn the clock back on that. It's now the case that both the Conservatives and the Liberals have said that's not going to change. And so I think realistically, any debate on whether there's going to be legalization, that ship has sailed. Like it or not, that ship has sailed. What I want to ensure is Mayor of Brampton, is our streets are safe. I want to make sure the police have the resources, the tools, and the equipment to ensure that if some idiot's driving drug impaired, that there's consequences for that reckless behavior. And so that's my primary concern. I don't want to see marijuana in our community, but I'm not naive enough to think that it's not going to be there.
Okay, what's going to be the most challenging part of budgeting for you?
Budgeting is that I've inherited some bad contracts. I've inherited a financial mess, but we're going to do the best to get Brampton back on track. I need to make sure that Brampton is a lean and efficient organization, because when you have tax rates and cost and red tape that are significantly higher than other communities, it will drive investment out of our community. So that's the challenge, is to make sure that we can clean up the mess that we've inherited.
Okay, so you're going to have returning councillors, and you have new councillors working with you. So what is the key to successful work?
Treat every councillor with respect. Treat every team member with the respect they deserve. Frankly, I think I'm lucky as Mayor of Brampton. I've got a very talented city council. It's diverse, it's well educated, it is from different walks of life, different experiences. I feel fortunate we have a very good team, and I think it's going to be exciting.
Okay. As a new mayor, what would you like to tell the citizen of your city?
That be optimistic, be hopeful. We're going to get Brampton back on track. Together we're going to get Brampton back on track, and we're going to make it the envy of Ontario. If we all pitch in, there's going to be some very exciting days ahead.
Patrick, how are you going to deal with both federal and provincial governments?
Well, both the provincial and federal government need Brampton. They want to stay elected. They need Brampton. They need to win seats in Brampton. It's in Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford's self-interest to start paying attention to Brampton. We are underfunded. We are underserviced. We don't get our fair share. As I was mentioning earlier, the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, did reach out to say, he called me to say he wants to make sure that the federal government addresses the infrastructure shortfall. I'll take that as a positive sign, but talk is easy, action is different, and I hope that we'll see some tangible investments in the very near future. A number of the provincial cabinet ministers have reached out to me to offer their congratulations and support, and said they look forward to working with Brampton. I haven't heard yet from the Premier, but I hope that the province will come to the table too. Brampton is a critical part of Ontario. You want to have a strong Ontario, you need to have a strong Peel region, a strong city of Brampton, and I'm hopeful that we're going to see both the provincial and federal governments at the table working to make sure that we move this part of Ontario forward.
Patrick, you're newlywed and you have busy schedule. Everybody knows you actually. It's like 24/7 you're busy. So how is your wife doing with this schedule? And
well, she's been very supportive. I'm very lucky. She works at a Sick Kids Foundation. Although she's busy at the day working for sick kids, at nighttime she comes and helps out, goes to events with me. On the weekend she goes to events, and frankly a lot of the events I go to, she's much more popular than I am. She's a wonderful person, and she comes from a family that has a history in politics, so it's not new to her. Her uncle is the MPP for Mississauga Lakeshore, Rudy Cazzetto. He's one of the new MPPs, and her mother has been a long time political activist, Sylvia Galtieri, and so I've got a great partner, a great wife, and she's incredibly supportive.
Patrick, you're a fighter, and everybody's going to be watching you actually. Thank you very much for your time today. I know you have busy schedule. Thanks a lot for coming today.
My pleasure.
Up until next time, have a good night.